There is a fine white powder sitting on store shelves in hardware stores and garden centers right now that effectively kills every single insect with an exoskeleton, and it costs less than $5 for a bag that will last your entire household for 10 years or more of continuous protection. This remarkable powder does not poison bugs the way conventional chemical pesticides do. It does something far more devastating and absolutely permanent that bugs cannot possibly adapt to. It shreds their protective outer shells at the microscopic level with millions of tiny razor-sharp edges and causes them to dehydrate and die within 24 to 48 hours of contact. The insects cannot develop resistance to this powder because it does not attack their biology or metabolism. It attacks their physical structure in fundamental ways that evolution simply cannot overcome, no matter how many generations are exposed. Roaches die, ants die, bedbugs die, fleas die, ticks die, silverfish die, earwigs die, centipedes die, carpet beetles die, millipedes die. Every single crawling insect that touches this powder will inevitably die because the killing mechanism is purely mechanical and absolutely inescapable for any creature with an exoskeleton. The powder is called diatomaceous earth, and it is made from the fossilized remains of ancient microscopic algae called diatoms that lived in vast numbers in oceans and freshwater lakes over 200 million years ago during the age of dinosaurs. This is absolutely not some new scientific discovery or experimental laboratory technology awaiting approval. Ancient Egyptians used diatomaceous earth over 4,000 years ago to protect their precious grain stores from insect infestation during long storage periods. Chinese farmers have applied it to their crops and storage facilities for many centuries with consistent success. European peasants dusted it liberally in their barns, pantries, and homes, long before synthetic chemical pesticides were ever invented. The knowledge has been freely available to humanity for millennia, yet the average American homeowner has never heard of it. The global pest control industry generates over $22 billion in annual revenue. Companies like Terminix charge customers $1,200 or more per year for monthly service contracts. Orkin builds entire business models around repeat visits and ongoing chemical applications. SC Johnson sells hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Raid products annually. None of these companies want you to know that a $5 bag of ancient fossil dust would eliminate their services from your life permanently. This is the story of diatomaceous earth, the bug killer that makes pesticides obsolete, and the industry conspiracy that ensures you keep paying monthly for what a single purchase could solve forever. If this knowledge matters to you, subscribe and hit the bell. Let's begin. The science of diatomaceous earth reveals a killing mechanism so elegantly simple and fundamentally effective that no insect species has evolved resistance in over 200 million years of continuous natural exposure across every continent on Earth. Diatoms were remarkable single-celled algae that built intricate geometric shells from silica that they extracted and concentrated from the water around them. These extraordinary microscopic organisms lived in vast, countless numbers across ancient oceans and freshwater lakes. Throughout the prehistoric world, when individual diatoms died, their incredibly hard silica shells sank slowly to the bottom and accumulated in thick layers, hundreds of feet deep over millions of years of continuous deposition. Geological processes of pressure and time compressed and preserved these massive deposits into the soft, chalky rock formations we now mine commercially as diatomaceous earth. Under a powerful microscope, diatomaceous earth looks absolutely nothing like the fine soft powder it appears to be when viewed with naked human eyes. Each individual particle is actually a tiny fragment of ancient fossilized shell that is completely covered in razor-sharp edges, needle-like spines, and jagged ridges at the microscopic scale, invisible to normal vision. These incredibly sharp structures are far too small to have any effect on thick human skin, but they are absolutely devastating. Two small insects, whose entire bodies are measured in millimeters rather than inches or feet. When any insect walks through an area treated with diatomaceous earth, the microscopically sharp particles immediately scratch and penetrate the waxy outer layer of its protective exoskeleton. This waxy coating is absolutely not decorative or incidental. It is completely essential for insect survival because it prevents catastrophic water loss through the permeable exoskeleton beneath. Insects do not have internal skeletons surrounded by protective flesh the way mammals and other vertebrates do. They have external skeletons that absolutely must remain perfectly sealed to retain the body moisture they need to survive. The scratches created by diatomaceous earth particles compromise this waterproof barrier catastrophically. Body fluids begin escaping through the damaged cuticle. The insect cannot seal the wounds because the particles remain embedded in the damaged areas. Dehydration accelerates as more moisture escapes with every movement. Death follows within 24 to 48 hours, depending on insect size and environmental humidity. This killing mechanism explains why insects cannot develop resistance to diatomaceous earth. Chemical pesticides attack specific biological pathways that insects can modify through genetic mutation over generations. Populations exposed to chemicals gradually develop individuals with mutations that provide resistance. These resistant individuals survive and reproduce, eventually creating populations immune to the original pesticide. Diatomaceous earth attacks physical structure. An insect cannot evolve an exoskeleton that sharp silica cannot scratch any more than humans could evolve skin that knives cannot cut. The physical properties of materials do not change based on biological adaptation. Silica will always be harder than chitin. Sharp edges will always create scratches. Damaged barriers will always leak. 200 million years of insect evolution have produced no defense against diatomaceous earth because no defense is physically possible. The effectiveness of diatomaceous earth spans virtually every household pest that causes problems for homeowners. Cockroaches die reliably when exposed to diatomaceous earth applied in their travel paths and hiding areas. The powder works on all cockroach species, including German roaches, that have developed resistance to nearly every chemical pesticide on the market. Pest control companies charge hundreds of dollars for cockroach treatments that often require multiple visits because chemical-resistant populations bounce back within weeks. Diatomaceous earth provides permanent control because resistance cannot develop. Bedbugs die when diatomaceous earth is applied around bed frames, mattress seams, and baseboards. The bedbug epidemic that has swept through American cities since the early 2000s coincided with the development of resistance to pyrethroid pesticides that had previously controlled these insects effectively. Professional bedbug treatments now cost thousands of dollars and often fail because surviving insects repopulate within months. Diatomaceous earth kills bedbugs through physical mechanisms they cannot adapt to, regardless of their chemical resistance status. Ants die when diatomaceous earth is applied along their trails and around entry points. Worker ants carry the powder back to colonies on their bodies, where it spreads to other colony members through normal contact. The slow killing speed actually enhances effectiveness for social insects because affected individuals have time to contaminate nestmates before dying. Colony elimination often occurs within 1 to 2 weeks of initial application. Fleas and ticks die when diatomaceous earth is applied to carpets, pet bedding, and outdoor areas. Pet owners spend billions annually on chemical flea treatments that must be reapplied monthly and can cause adverse reactions in sensitive animals. Diatomaceous earth applied to indoor environments provides ongoing protection without repeated chemical exposure. The powder remains effective indefinitely as long as it stays dry. Silverfish, earwigs, centipedes, millipedes, and virtually every other crawling pest succumb to diatomaceous earth. The only requirement is that the target insect must have an exoskeleton and must contact the powder. Flying insects that never land in treated areas may escape exposure, but any crawling pest that crosses treated surfaces will die within days. The safety profile of food-grade diatomaceous earth makes the pest control industry's reliance on toxic chemicals even more indefensible. Food-grade diatomaceous earth is literally safe enough for human consumption. The FDA has approved it as an anti-saking agent in food products. Farmers mix it directly into grain stores to prevent insect damage without any contamination concerns. Some people consume it deliberately as a dietary supplement, believing it provides health benefits. Whether or not those supplement claims are valid, the safety for human contact and even ingestion is thoroughly established. Children can play in areas treated with food-grade diatomaceous earth without health concerns. Pets can walk through it, groom themselves after contact, and even eat small amounts without adverse effects. The contrast with chemical pesticides that require evacuation periods, warning labels, and protective equipment could not be more stark. The only health precaution for diatomaceous earth involves inhalation of large quantities of airborne dust. The fine silica particles can irritate respiratory passages if inhaled in concentrated form during application. A simple dust mask eliminates this concern entirely. Once settled, diatomaceous earth poses no respiratory hazard because the particles are too heavy to become airborne under normal conditions. Chemical pesticides pose far more serious and ongoing health risks. Organophosphates used in many professional pest control applications are neurotoxins that can cause acute poisoning and chronic health effects with repeated exposure. Pyrethroids marketed as safer alternatives have been linked to endocrine disruption and developmental problems. The warning labels on consumer pesticide products reveal dangers that manufacturers are legally required to disclose, but that most consumers never read carefully. Families who hire pest control services are paying to have poisons applied inside their homes on a regular schedule. The same results could be achieved with a substance safe enough to eat. But the pest control industry has no financial incentive to inform customers of this reality. The pest control industry has systematically and deliberately suppressed public awareness of diatomaceous earth for decades to protect massive revenue streams that depend entirely on repeated service visits and ongoing chemical applications. The fundamental business model of professional pest control depends entirely on creating and maintaining recurring customer relationships over extended periods. Initial treatment visits generate only modest revenue that barely covers customer acquisition costs and technician time. The real profits come from ongoing monthly or quarterly service contracts that provide the predictable, recurring income streams that build sustainable company valuations and satisfy investor expectations. Terminix, Orkin, Rentokil, and other major national providers structure their entire sales operations around converting one-time problem customers into long-term subscription subscribers who pay indefinitely. Commission structures and performance bonuses incentivize sales representatives to emphasize ongoing service needs over one-time solutions. A product that solves pest problems permanently, with a single inexpensive application, completely destroys this carefully constructed business model. If every customer learned that a $5 bag of ancient fossil dust from the hardware store would eliminate their pest problems forever. Without professional assistance, the pest control industry would lose the recurring subscription revenue that sustains their entire operations and justifies their stock valuations. There is absolutely no follow-up visit needed when the product continues working indefinitely without degradation. There is no monthly maintenance check required when the treatment physically cannot fail or lose effectiveness over time. Industry training programs never mention diatomaceous earth as a primary control method. Pest control technicians learn extensive protocols for chemical application but receive minimal or no education about mechanical control methods that would reduce service needs. The knowledge gap is not accidental, but rather reflects corporate priorities that favor treatments requiring professional expertise and repeat visits. Marketing by chemical manufacturers reinforces consumer dependence on commercial products. S.C. Johnson spends over $400 million annually advertising Raid and other pest control products. These advertising campaigns position chemical sprays as the default solution for insect problems. Diatomaceous earth manufacturers lack the marketing budgets to compete for consumer attention against these promotional juggernauts. Retail placement further obscures diatomaceous earth from consumer awareness. Hardware stores stock chemical pesticides on prominent shelves with extensive product selections. Diatomaceous earth, when available at all, occupies minimal shelf space, often in garden sections rather than pest control aisles. Consumers searching for bug killers encounter walls of chemical options before ever discovering that alternatives exist. The system has been designed at every level to ensure you keep buying what makes corporations wealthy rather than discovering what actually works best. The application of diatomaceous earth requires no professional expertise or specialized equipment. Effective treatment begins with identifying areas where target insects travel and hide. Cockroaches follow edges along walls and congregate in warm, dark spaces near water sources. Bedbugs hide in mattress seams, box springs, and furniture cracks near sleeping areas. Ants travel established trails between colonies and food sources. Observing pest behavior for even a few minutes reveals application priorities. A thin layer of diatomaceous earth applied along these pathways ensures insect contact. The powder should be barely visible as a light dusting rather than piled in thick layers. Heavy application actually reduces effectiveness because insects will avoid obviously treated areas. A barely perceptible coating that insects walk through unknowingly provides maximum exposure and effectiveness. Cracks, crevices, and void spaces benefit from deeper application. Wall cavities, cabinet interiors, and spaces behind appliances can receive heavier treatments because visibility is not a concern. Bulb dusters designed for pest control allow powder application into tight spaces. A simple squeeze bottle with a narrow tip works adequately for most homeowners. The powder remains effective indefinitely as long as it stays dry. Moisture causes diatomaceous earth particles to clump and lose their sharp edges. Dry indoor environments preserve effectiveness for years without reapplication. Outdoor applications may require renewal after rain or heavy dew. Bathrooms and kitchens with high humidity should receive attention to drainage and ventilation to maximize treatment longevity. A single thorough application can provide permanent protection for most indoor environments. Problem areas may benefit from reapplication after several months, but many homeowners report years of effectiveness from initial treatments. The contrast with chemical pesticides requiring monthly reapplication could not be more dramatic. The diatomaceous earth waiting in your local store represents independence from an industry that profits from your continued pest problems rather than your permanent solutions. A homeowner could purchase a single 10-pound bag for under $20 and have enough product to treat their entire home with supplies left over for years of maintenance. They would never pay for a pest control service contract again. They would never expose their family to chemical pesticides again. They would never worry about resistant insect populations that survive commercial treatments. They would possess a permanent solution to problems the pest control industry wants to manage forever rather than solve once. Terminix charges $1,200 or more per year for service contracts. Orkin charges similar amounts for their premium programs. Local pest control companies charge hundreds of dollars per visit for individual treatments. The $22 billion pest control industry exists because customers do not know that $20 worth of fossil dust works better than all of their services combined. Every monthly pest control payment represents money extracted through deliberate ignorance maintenance. Every raid purchased represents profit from a product designed to be repurchased endlessly. Every exterminator visit represents services that diatomaceous earth would have made unnecessary. The industry survives by ensuring you never discover what they already know. The ancient Egyptians knew this 4,000 years ago. Chinese farmers knew it for centuries. European peasants knew it before chemicals existed. The pest control companies know it now, and they desperately hope you never learn it. 200-million-year-old microscopic fossils. Kills every single bug with an exoskeleton without exception. $5 for a bag that lasts 10 years or more. Safe enough that you can literally eat it without harm. They deliberately hid this simple truth from you because your permanent one-time solution represents their permanent ongoing revenue loss. Now you know exactly what they buried from the public for decades. Now you understand precisely why they buried it so thoroughly and systematically. If this opens something important for you, subscribe and hit the bell. Every single like and share spreads what the $22 billion pest control industry has deliberately hidden for decades to keep you dependent on their monthly services. See you in the next one.